If you're into strength sports, you've probably heard of Caffeine and Kilos. They have a great brand, great coffee, and make some cool apparel. If you go to west.caffeineandkilos.com, you can get 10% off all of your purchases. Check out the website, show them some love, and buy some cool shit. Hey guys, Wes here. Wanted to take a minute to thank one of our sponsors, California Strength. If you're looking for some awesome weightlifting program that happens to be exactly what the team and I follow here in the gym, head to californiastrength.com. For a 15% discount, use promo codes WES15 for the club program and WESKITS15 for the elite program. If you're serious about weightlifting and getting better, join our team.
I came from the mud. There's dirt on my hands. Strong like a tree. There's roots where I stand. Oh, I've been running from the law. Hope they won't shoot me down soon.
All right. Well, I guess first, thanks for taking the time to come down here. I know you guys are busy trying to keep a gym going, and we appreciate you taking the time to come see us.
Absolutely.
It's our sincere pleasure to be here. Thank you for having us.
Thanks. Man, I got to tell you, I am hooked on boxing with MJ. It's been so much fun. He's been telling me to come down for probably years now, actually. And then finally we had a little break in training, go down there with Dave, and it's been awesome. So also thanks for letting me come down there and enjoy your facilities too.
Absolutely, man.
It's so much fun. I didn't, I guess I never really thought about doing a combat sport ever or like participating in any way. So it's really cool to like even just be in your gym and see all that stuff. But how did you guys get into the combat sports? And you have this amazing gym with the powerlifting, and you do CrossFit and weightlifting. I mean, it's unbelievable. How did you guys get started?
Well, I mean, the gym itself, or
Just go from the
it's just
whole beginning.
It's a unique idea, to just combine everything like that.
Yeah, so I was running another gym in San Jose, and I was running the day-to-day operations for somebody else who was the owner. And I had a full-time job, and it was cool, and we built a fight team, and I always wanted to include CrossFit as well, but they didn't want the liability. They didn't want to create the space for it. So I convinced them to do some other fitness programs as well. And the concept of the gym, the gyms that I've built have always been kind of three pillars: self-defense, fighting, and fitness. Right. So as a business, when you cover those three gamuts, there's a lot of carryover and bleed over, right?
Sure.
People who are focused on self-defense might not have an interest in combat sports, but a lot of times they end up morphing into that. And people that are interested in combat sports really are thinking about self-defense. So, when you offer that, and then overall just general fitness, you're kind of running the gamut and being able to build a product that is going to be diverse and interesting to more than just one demographic. Right. So we pre-COVID were able to, in 2009, we opened up in a down economy. The economy in 2009 was not the time to open a business. I was running a gym somewhere else. MJ was actually one of my students and one of my fighters. And it got to a point where I wanted to focus more on teaching. So the place where I was at, I said, hey, listen, you guys are making, 60 grand a month. You're paying me $1,500. So I think I'd like to do more than that. Right. So it didn't work out. So in talking to MJ, is like, hey, listen, I've got the funds and I'd like to be involved. And, would you like to open up a gym? And, I had known MJ for a while and I trusted him. And I said, sure, let's do it. And we started out small. It was a 5,000 square foot facility. But the model was always the same: self-defense, fighting, and fitness. So, we put CrossFit in the back. It had, 1,000 square feet. We said 1,000 square feet. It was actually 900. We always rounded up a little bit, right? So it made it sound better.
We kept calling the cops on us because we kept on going.
Yeah. So, and then we expanded across the parking lot and then added another 3,000 square feet. Then after 3 years, with 0 students, we were at 400, 500 students, and we'd outgrown the space. So then we moved down the street and went to a place that was 12,000 square feet. And then we had to knock down some walls and took that to 14,000 square feet. And we were there for 5 years. And then now we're on year 8. And now we've got, not 900 students, and we've outgrown that space. So then we moved across the street. So, in 10 years, we've expanded 3 times. We've gone from having 0 students, to before the pandemic, almost 1,500 throughout the programs, kids programs, kids CrossFit, kids MMA, the adult programs, the Krav Maga, the MMA, which is it's boxing and Muay Thai, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, wrestling, Sambo, and then our fitness program, the CrossFit program, is not just CrossFit. As you've been a coach for us over there for the barbell WOD. We've had a long-standing relationship with Cal Strength, and I think it goes 6-7 years now where we've had the barbell WOD in our CrossFit program. We don't charge for it. We make it part of the program, and we do the barbell WOD 3 days a week as a supplement to our CrossFit training. Yeah. And then obviously we have a powerlifting element there as well with Jesse Burdick for many years, and gymnastics, Jay Gray, who used to work for CrossFit HQ and has partnered with Dusty Highland down at the Skill WOD. So we've had a lot of really strong subject matter expertise that has kind of helped us carve a niche, because there really isn't another gym that I'm aware of that is a world-class CrossFit and strength and conditioning gym and a world-class mixed martial arts facility. There are lots of gyms that dabble in CrossFit, and then there are, fitness gyms that dabble in martial arts as a supplement, but there really isn't, that I'm aware of, a gym that operates at the level that we have, at such a high level. Athletes in the UFC and athletes at the CrossFit Games.
Yeah, that's one of the first things I noticed when I started coaching barbell WOD. It's called Combat Sports Academy. So obviously there's this huge emphasis on the martial arts and the combat sports. But like you said, you have record holder powerlifters who train there. There's weightlifters. There's I know you have a CrossFit team that competed at the games, and Jay Gray, she's a level 10 gymnastics coach, so gymnastics too. Yeah. And so, it's just interesting how you can start with this one thing, but like you said, it all kind of bleeds into each other, and then everything is just taken to this high level. So would you say that, I know that some of the CrossFit athletes, it's a very easy parallel to say, like, hey, if I do this Muay Thai class, it's going to help me for CrossFit because it's conditioning, I'm getting my heart rate up. Do you have your fighters do CrossFit, or your fighters learn weightlifting movements, powerlifting, that kind of stuff?
Well, yeah, absolutely. And it's one of those things where CrossFit gets a bad rap, in a lot of people's eyes. And in MMA, listen, you can go find a CrossFit fail video, anywhere you like, right? And when you have the human ego combined with bad coaching, it's recipe for, America's Funniest Home Videos. Right. It just is, right? But when you look at CrossFit at its core, what is CrossFit? It's Olympic weightlifting, it's powerlifting, it's gymnastics, it's track and field. These are some of the best athletes in the world. Right. They become the best athletes in the world. They stimulate those energy systems, those strength components and pillars. And combining that into CrossFit, if it's intelligently programmed, coached safely, right, and the human ego can be managed, it is without a doubt one of the best functional fitness programs in the world, right? If you look at the Titan Games, or you look at any of these things, Broken Skull, any of these like newer, Grid, you look at any of these new sport or entertainment shows, Margot Alvarez, Matt Chan, Danny Spiegel. These are the people that are dominating these shows. They're not CrossFit shows. They're just really well-rounded athletes. Right. And when it comes to fighting, absolutely CrossFit. I implore all of my fighters to CrossFit. Some do, some don't. I don't force it on people. I've had some athletes who, are hard gainers, and, if they do too much cardiovascular exercise, they have trouble keeping weight on. So we push them more towards powerlifting. But we definitely want people doing strength and conditioning. And CrossFit for me with combat sports is just such an easy fit and such a no-brainer as long as it's coached properly. When it comes to like combat sports, when you look at the overall strength and conditioning world, you're not going to see as much Olympic lifting in mixed martial arts, right? And the reason being is it's complicated, it's complex,
Sure.
right? The slow power lifts, the deadlift, the squat, the bench, the press, which used to be a power lift move, but really isn't anymore. It's slow, it's controllable, it's a plane of motion that doesn't involve explosive movement. And you're not going to drop the weight on your head. At the worst, you're going to drop the weight on your chest.
Sure.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So there are a lot of strength and conditioning coaches that stay away from Olympic lifting for mixed martial arts. And I think that's a horrible thing, because literally, if ask any strength and conditioning coach worth their salt, if there was only one lift that any athlete in the world should be doing, if you could only do one, every other lift was off the table and was impossible, it would be the clean.
Yeah.
Right? But cleans are hard. To do it
Hard to do and
properly.
coach.
Hard to do, hard to coach,
Yeah.
and it takes time. So you have strength and conditioning coaches that compartmentalize from a timing standpoint and say, okay, I don't have the time to teach this person how to clean properly. Well, that's a fault of coaching, right? Teach your people how to clean, make them better athletes, make them
Yeah.
stronger, functional, healthier human beings as well, right? If you're a grappler and you don't know how to clean, you're literally bridging, hip heisting all day long,
Yeah.
right? If you don't know how to clean properly, you probably don't know how to buck your hips. You probably don't know how to shrimp properly. You probably don't have the flexibility necessary in a bad position. If you're a wrestler and you don't know how to clean, now I will say this, most wrestling programs will make their people
Yeah.
do Olympic
Yeah.
lifting.
Yeah.
And you take this strength component that can't be matched and you combine it with a conditioning element, because wrestlers are the best conditioned athletes in the
Right.
fucking world, right?
Yeah.
And you put those two together, right? You have an incredible athlete.
Right.
Right. So at the end of the day, absolutely, I want my mixed martial artists, my Muay Thai fighters, my MMA fighters, my boxers, I want them all to know how to Olympic lift. Absolutely.
So for like your highest level guys, and I'm sure this changes as they get closer to a fight,
Mhm.
but how do you prescribe their strength work versus their skill work, and I guess their fight specific activities?
Well, again, every athlete is a little bit different, but obviously there's going to be, is it a short notice fight? Is it a fight that you've had a full camp with? We're going to focus on, managing weight, right? Because combat sports is a weight
Right.
related sport is difficult. So, you are going to taper off some of the heavier weights the closer you get to the cut. But if an athlete can't lift heavy and make a weight class, it is my opinion the athlete has no business fighting in that weight class.
Yeah.
Right?
So if they can't operate at that level in that weight class, then it's just not the class.
And again, everybody wants that advantage, right? But the reality is that if you can't be the strongest, healthiest version of yourself in a fight, then that is not the optimal weight class
Right.
for you. Yes, there are advantages to being the bigger person. I don't care what anybody says. I get that. But if you can't lift throughout your training camp because you're going to put on too much muscle to make the weight,
Mhm.
then you are a subpar version of yourself, and you are just getting by with an advantage of size, not strength, right? And the more you cut, the weaker your chin is, the worse your conditioning is going to be. So I'm not a fan of big weight cuts. I do want people lifting throughout their camps. Obviously, we will taper towards the end. But absolutely, I'll have people squatting, a week before a fight, right? I
That's
wouldn't,
awesome.
I wouldn't be doing a ton of, heavy squats, fight week, right? We
Right.
do want to let the legs rest, but at the
course.
end of the day, it's like, I'm not a big fan of camp mentality anyway,
Sure.
right? It's like, well, I'm in camp. No, just fucking train, right? Just get better, right? If all you do is do a fight camp, then you're focused on a specific opponent, making a specific weight. When do you level up your skill? When do you actually improve your conditioning? Literally, most mixed martial artists, it's about making a weight.
Yeah.
Right. So when we start fight camp, we're incredibly out of shape because we're doing yo-yo diets. We're fucking with our metabolism, right? Especially female athletes, which I have a lot of, right? So for me, fight on Saturday, you're back in the gym on Monday,
Yeah.
and that's really an important ethos of our culture. So from a camp perspective, I mean, I'll use the word camp just because that's the term du jour,
Sure.
but we're in the gym year round.
Yeah.
And we're lifting year round, and we're getting stronger year round, and we're getting better at our skills year round. So
is that something that you guys over time developed? Because I mentioned you mentioned you coached MJ, and so when you guys met MJ, when you were in the midst of your combat career, were you also doing back squats, cleans, and stuff, or is this just something you guys kind of came to?
Well, I mean, I even prior to coming in, I was heavily involved in weight training, lifting. You know, I used to work at 24 Fitness. I used to run my own 24 Fitnesses until I met Kyrian, you know, and then he completely changed, you know, my whole workout routine. And then that's when I actually started falling in love with CrossFit as well, too.
Yeah.
Right.
So I started doing CrossFit full on, you know. He wouldn't let me do anything else. So, you know, he said, "This is what you're going to do, MJ." And, you know, and the thing about him coaching, it's like, hey, this is my way. This works. Here's my history. And it's worked every single time.
Right.
Yeah.
So follow that rule and you will be successful. If you don't, you're not going to win. You're not going to be successful.
What type of fighting did you do?
I did more kickboxing.
Okay.
Yep. Muay Thai.
Yeah,
So,
that's
you know.
terrifying.
Yeah, I mean, that's so interesting because that was the only real athletics I was doing before I got into weightlifting was a little bit of Taekwondo and a little bit of Muay Thai. And I literally didn't touch a weight until I was 20 years old. Like, we never did any discussion of weightlifting. I think if there was any exercise we would do to be more explosive in your kick, it would be like plyometrics, just like burpees all over. And like you said, if you just remove the name CrossFit, which is definitely demonized, just remove that branding and you look at what it actually is, it's awesome. It's the perfect strength and conditioning, like especially for fighting. Yeah,
because again with CrossFit, it isn't, you're not a specialist, right? You're a jack of all trades. You're getting really good at something, right? So if you take a CrossFit athlete, and I think it goes without saying, you take a CrossFit athlete and you put them in a marathon against an Olympic weightlifter, the CrossFit athlete's going to win the marathon time
Every time.
And if you take a CrossFit athlete and you put them in an Olympic weightlifting competition against a marathon runner, they're going to win the Olympic weightlifting competition every time. They just become well-rounded at everything. And for fighting, you have to be well-rounded at everything. You have to be well-rounded at striking. You have to be well-rounded at wrestling. You have to be well-rounded at grappling. And all three energy systems are going to be impacted from a strength and conditioning component, right? So if your sport is long distance running, then you might not want to do only weightlifting. But I tell you this, if your sport is long distance running, if you add in some weightlifting in an intelligent manner, you will be a better long distance runner. Absolutely. And I know that is taboo in a lot of, you know, I mean, you will be a better cyclist. You will be a better, if you didn't need to supplement your strength to be a better cyclist, Lance Armstrong would never gotten into trouble. It's the reality. Even though your sport might be endurance based, having a well-rounded 3-tiered energy system is only going to make you better at it. And that is where I feel CrossFit is perfect for the MMA athlete, because all three energy systems are necessary. You have to be explosive. You have to be powerful. You have to have agility. You have to be flexible. You have to have endurance. And those are the pillars of CrossFit, you know. And, you know, anybody, you get hurt doing anything, right? You can blow out your knee in a spin class, right? You could be an idiot.
Pretty sure I hurt my back sneezing.
You can
the worst back injury I've ever had.
You can blow out your back in a yoga class, right? It's anything. So for us, sometimes we fight that stigmatism of CrossFit. It's like, oh, CrossFit. Oh, yeah. Tell me about it.
Rhabdo.
Yeah, exactly. Rhabdo. Absolutely, you can get rhabdo. You get rhabdo doing a lot of fucking things in life, right? You get rhabdo in being in a bad car crash, and then you get compartmentalized syndrome, and then it turns. I mean, there's so many good components to CrossFit and its carryover for combat sports that it was a no-brainer for us to open up a CrossFit gym with. And again, if I only do combat sports, then there's a huge demographic of potential customers that I'm missing out on, right? And then within the CrossFit, that's how committed I am to people doing it properly. We have world-class Olympic lifting coaches teaching Olympic lifting in our CrossFit program. We have elite powerlifters teaching powerlifting in our CrossFit program. Level 10 gymnasts teaching gymnastics in our CrossFit program. We have more people, just average citizens, that can do muscle ups in our gym, which is one of the most functional things you'll ever do. Pulling yourself up off of the hot lava to get away from the running zombie horde, right? Yeah. Is one of the most functional things you could ever do as a human being. But it's a skill that you have to learn how to do safely. Right. People can't do them because it's an incredibly complicated movement, and then they don't have the upper body strength to be able to do it. So if you can do 10 strict pull-ups, you can do 10 strict dips, you can be taught how to do a muscle up safely. Right. But these are the pillars that you have to have. And if your gym doesn't preach them, and if your gym is teaching you how to kip before they're teaching you how to be strict, then yeah, it's a bad CrossFit program, but it's the same thing with fighting. If people are teaching you how to do a bunch of spinning shit and they're not teaching you how to sit down on a jab, it's a bad fighting program. And you see it in Olympic weightlifting. There are good Olympic weightlifting gyms, and then there are shit gyms, right?
Like I thought, Wes, snap your jab. Snap your jab. Don't push it. Don't muscle it. Don't muscle it.
But again, like with Wes, I mean, a weightlifter has such kinesthetic awareness of their body that as long as their ego is in check, they could do any sport in the world.
I think our cardiovascular fitness will always keep us in check. That might be the number one thing.
Well, that's changing for Wes.
Yeah, we're working on it.
Yeah, he'll be the
There would be nothing
fastest weightlifter.
There would be nothing wrong with Wes. His numbers would not suffer. His athleticism wouldn't suffer if he added just 30 to 40 minutes of steady state cardio, getting his heart rate to between 130 to 150 beats a minute for 30 to 45 minutes at a time. Pick a machine, pick an activity, and do that, right? You will be a better weightlifter, and you'll have better endurance.
Well, we're doing it once a week now.
Right, and that's what I've kind of picked up. I've been seeing MJ once a week, and we work about 30, 40 minutes. I'm drenched in sweat, out of breath, tired. But after we're done, my body feels so loose, and I feel like I've functionally flushed like all the pain, and tendonitis, and like all the like locked up stuff is just kind of
working full range of motion away, right?
So we kind of joke about it too. We're talking about your turnover and your punch and the snatch is because you've been throwing all these punches boxing. Right? I think there is some legitimacy to it. Like your
it does
arms,
work.
You're a little more loose. You got that
100%. Absolutely. And you're going to develop muscles with boxing, that you wouldn't develop any other way. That contraction and extraction of a punch when done properly. Right. There's only one sport where you're going to do that, and that's boxing. Yeah. And that can carry over to other sports. We use it a lot. MJ has been tremendously successful with the combine program with the Cal Strength athletes. And they'll send him videos from their games. Look at me here. Look at me there. Look at me here. Right. Kiko, of course, sends the best videos. But absolutely. And he's done a phenomenal job with that program and breaking down where combat sports can supplement football. Right. Yeah. Absolutely. Just like, whether it's, I know there's a movement for ballet and sport, right? Absolutely. There's value in that. And there's value in combat sports to carry over into other sports from a mindset standpoint, and then from an athletic standpoint. Yeah.
So, MJ, how did you get hooked up with Dave and start working with his combine guys? Because I don't think, we don't talk about it too much, but Dave, he runs the combine group every year, and his combine guys go see you at CSA every year, like at least once a week or so on Saturdays, or
no, actually we started back at the old gym. We started about 6 years ago. I would say about 6 years ago. He came in with his first little crew. It was actually Kiko, Josh, and Charles Leno, and one other person. It was Corbin.
Okay, yeah. Cool.
So he came in. We got our first session in, and then Dave was like, "Hey, I got these guys. I just want just show them around, show them." And then they all basically fell in love with the sport. Yeah. Kiko was already a big fan of boxing, right. So Dave told Kiko he can come in twice a week. Kiko was coming in 6 days a week. And then it led to Zach Ertz and Austin Hooper, and it just kept on getting bigger and bigger and bigger, and now I have to push people away. So
Zach doesn't win the Super Bowl without combat sports.
Exactly.
I said it.
So yeah, so it's been amazing, and that's, and with my guys that I've trained. A lot of people go, hey, when I'm training, oh, he doesn't have his hands up, or he doesn't. And I explain to them, you have to understand, these guys are not trying to become fighters.
Right.
These guys aren't trying to become professional. They already are professional athletes. So, I try to base my training programs and all the stuff that I do so it could be football centric as well.
Right.
So, there's a
Yeah.
lot.
Yeah, football is going to be more hands out, right,
Yeah.
than hands up,
Right.
right? So this
Yeah.
is not as much of an emphasis for us when we're working with an athlete that isn't in this sport, right? We need the hands at the ready. So it's not and you'll get that all the time. Oh, his hands aren't up, or is this? He's not doing this. He's not doing that. Listen, the transfer to the sport is a little bit different, right? So we can accomplish the modality and get the solicited response that we want from the training paradigm without putting him in a bad position for a sport. Right.
Yeah.
So it can be incredibly helpful. But yeah, if literally this is where you train a football player from, this is a problem. It's going to be a problem for a receiver. It's going to be a problem for a lineman. It's going to be a problem for a quarterback. It's going to be a problem for anybody, right? They need to be able to have their hands out. They need to be able to catch. They need to be able to throw. They need to be able to tackle.
Interesting distinction to make, absolutely, because you're not, like you said, you're not training them to be a boxer.
Right.
You just want them to get some benefit out
Some
of
of
this.
them do
this
want to become
sport.
boxers. They were like, oh, I want to. Do you think I can fight?
I could see Kiko in a ring.
Do you think I can fight? Do you think I can do this?
Kiko's smart.
Yeah, he's a good boxer. There's a couple other guys that are really, really good.
Yeah. So I know you guys have some really good fighters, top level Bellator, and for the gym, what would you say the percentage is of people who are coming in just because they want to self-defense, they want to be a little better,
right?
Your quote unquote average gym goer and your top level guys?
So our fight team is probably, going to be 30 to 40 people in a gym of pre-COVID close to 1,500, so a small percentage, from a breakdown of programs, MMA is our most popular program. And that's not people who want to fight. That's people who want to train like fighters, right? And that's a distinction that we make, right? We don't do any cardio kickboxing classes. We don't do any executive boxing classes. Everything we do, my fighters take the classes. They could take the classes. The programming and the curriculum's designed for people that want to fight. You can sweat with a purpose, or you can sweat with bad technique and, and a waste of time. Then you're just, doing cardio. So for us, our classes are programmed for real fighters, and anybody can get better in them, right? So you don't have to want to fight. We don't spar in classes. We have sparring classes where we teach people how to spar. You have to be invited to that class. You can't just show up, right? And then you have to wake up that morning and say, hey, I want to go and punch somebody in the face and get punched in the face in order to go to the class versus, some gyms where they just, okay, we're all sparring today.
Yeah.
And then people go to work with black eyes. So it's been that fine line of giving really good quality technique to the masses. And there's a group of people who want to train and get better and learn the art of fighting, but don't actually want to fight. And generally in the MMA world, that's frowned upon, right? So it's like, oh, you only the strong survive. No, you can learn this skill. Just like you can learn how to weightlift, be a great Olympic weightlifter, and not compete. And the people that want to compete, great. That's how it is with us. If people want to compete, wonderful. We'll find you an avenue. And people's dreams are very different. I have people who just want to do one smoker. They just want to test themselves. That's it. One time. And they're done. And then I have other people that, okay, I just want to do one amateur fight. I want to be in front of that crowd. I want it, right? And I have other people, okay, well, I just want to win an amateur title, and then I'm done. I had one guy, Brian Petro, one of the best fighters I've ever trained, undefeated, won 8 Muay Thai titles. And after his last titles, I'm good. I'm like, you're good. We're going to go pro. I mean, you're one of the best fighters in the world. No, I'm good. Okay. All right, cool. And then I have other people that walk in my door. They're, hey, I want to do the UFC. Okay. Okay, cool. All right, I get it. And then, I get that a lot. Yeah. And generally people that walk in the door and say, hey, I have a dream to be in the UFC. Cool. Statistically speaking, you're not going to the UFC, right? But everybody who's in the UFC walked in a door somewhere and said, hey, I want to train. maybe not, I want to be in the UFC. A lot of people that get to the UFC, it isn't their dream to be in the UFC. It's just a byproduct of what they did for training, you know. Like a Holly Holm, she was doing cardio kickboxing classes, you know, with her coach, and then started boxing, and then that led to the UFC. And a lot of people's journeys are that way. But for us, we don't train you any differently. And that, I think, has been a real recipe of our success.
Yeah.
So I literally have people in my classes every single day. Again, post-COVID, it's different. But I have people who have no desire to fight, who've never fought, have been with us for a couple of months, and they hold pads better than professional fight coaches, right? Because we stress the fundamentals. We teach people how to move. We teach people how to be safe. You know, we don't have training accidents in the gym. You know, we have a very high safety record. We don't spar hard most of the time. It's all technical sparring. You only have so many brain cells. We don't waste them in the gym whenever possible. So it's a little different gym. But if I were going to break down the dynamic, I'd say MMA is probably going to be 40% of our membership, right? And then, you know, maybe I'd say maybe 50% of our membership, 35% of our membership, 30% of our membership, CrossFit, and then maybe 25% Krav, right? If I were going to do a breakdown of that 1,500 pre-COVID. Now, it's not 1,500 now, right? I mean, you can't be shut down for 5 months and keep 1,500 students, right?
Yeah.
So COVID has been hard on all of us, you guys, us, you know, we're pivoting and adapting the best that we can, you know, dealing with, you know, county health officers. And, but I will say is that the community and the culture that we've built, surprisingly, you know, it hasn't led to disaster. A lot of gyms there, I think in May, there was a study and there were already 75 CrossFit gyms in California that had shut down in May.
That's crazy.
I haven't seen it in July, right? So I'm sure there's even more.
Yeah.
But knock on wood, because of what we've built and the community that we've built, we had a lot of people support us. We had a lot of people stick with us through the virtual training. And then the city of Dublin and the mayor allowed us to be open within Alameda, and, you know, and the outdoor training. So, you know, we've built outdoor training areas beyond our outdoor training area. Now we've shaded it. Right now I've got somebody building even more tents and shades in our parking lot for outdoor training. So to survive right now as a gym, it's all about kind of pivoting and adapting to the best of your ability. But like we talked about earlier, training outside is not training inside in people's minds. So we're just trying to give people the best experience possible within the confines of California's orders, the county's public health guidance, knowing full well that the gym is the only place where one is going to truly combat the mortality rate of this virus, you know? And, you know, I'm not a virus denier. I know COVID is very real. I know it is highly contagious. And if you have a secondary health condition, it's highly dangerous. But how do you combat that secondary health condition? How do you fight diabetes? How do you fight high blood pressure? How do you fight heart conditions? How do you fight obesity? How do you fight respiratory problems? Through diet and exercise, man.
Punched in the face a couple times.
Yeah, absolutely. 100%.
Exactly.
Right? So, you know, for us, we really wish that gyms like yours and like ours were given a little more support for essential. Literally in California, this week, Gavin Newsom has declared Hollywood, its actors, its producers as essential workers. Yet gyms, which control health, wellness, and fitness, that combat the secondary health conditions that you're so concerned about, the 100 people that died yesterday, they can't be open, but Hollywood can make movies.
Right.
That's
It's
essential.
a little bit.
It's a little backwards. And again, that's not anyone saying this isn't very real. But from a priority standpoint, the industries that combat the virus are the ones who should be essential, not the liquor stores, not Hollywood, and not, you know, Walmart. You know, yes, I know they sell a lot of things, but at the end of the day, you know what I'm saying, right?
Absolutely.
And there's my COVID rant.
But they're not doing what do you call it? Black Friday specials anymore.
That's
They're not going to do.
Oh,
You're not going to be able to go to the store for Black Friday.
They do
So-
Black Wednesday now.
Exactly.
It's moved
I
up.
went off on a tangent. Forgive me.
That was actually a well put COVID tangent. You
Yeah.
know, like you're exactly right.
It was almost, it's the elephant in the room, right? Like
Yeah.
as two gym owners, successful gym owners, it is something that I think everyone is considering. And I know some of our listeners who are maybe even struggling with their own personal businesses
100%.
kind of want that input. And yeah.
Yeah, I had a conversation with my sister, who is literally one of the most intelligent people in the world. No bullshit. My mother had a genius level IQ, well over 140, been tested many times. My sister never tested, but very much like my mother, right? And, you know, we had a brief discussion, and I was busting her balls over posting a black and white picture or something like that via text. And I was like, oh, you know, but, you know, well, you only care about women from Turkey, right? Like, brother, I was just busting her balls, right?
Yeah.
And then, you know, she came back and I said, you know, that, you know, India and Afghanistan and the Congo are far worse places for women to live. So why don't you post a black and white picture? Again, just busting her balls, right? Just like brothers and sisters do. And then I said, but you know what the worst place to live is California. So this is a prison on planet bullshit. She said, you're right. It is. I agree with you. And if all of these dummies would just be willing to give up a little bit more of their comfort, we could have this thing done in 3 months. And I said to her, and I was like, now, you know, I'm in a socially based industry. I'm in a gym business. I'm shut down. And you want to tell me that comfort is all people are giving up? You know, so I asked her, I said, how much comfort have you given up? You're a computer programmer. You work from home. What have you, all you do is a little more Netflix and chill. Me, I've shut down my business for 4 months. I can't operate. I can't make income. I still have to pay my bills. I still have to pay my rent. The government didn't help me at all. Is that comfort, or is it maybe a little bigger problem? And are you being a little thoughtless here? And then a few other, you know, you bitch, you dumb, you know, all this other shit.
Brother, sister
stuff,
Yeah.
right? And literally, it was one of those things where she is so tunnel visioned on the fact that she believes that if everybody just wears a mask, this problem will go away, because that's what everybody's telling her, right? I said, you're smarter than this. I'm not saying don't wear a mask. Wear a fucking mask. Great. It's not that difficult. Wear a fucking mask. Wonderful. Just wearing a mask is not going to solve this problem. It's so it's a deeper fucking problem going on here, right? Good, bad, whatever. Again, you know, I voted for Clinton. I voted for Obama. I voted for George Bush Jr. You know, I'm a registered Republican. I believe a woman has a right to choose. I'm as liberal a Republican as you're going to find, right? I'm disgusted with the Republican Party. I'm disgusted with the Democratic Party. You know, I'm a reasonable human being, right? I think Gavin Newsom is a tool. I think Donald Trump is a tool. I'm just flabbergasted that someone like me has to hope that Donald Trump is going to do something intelligent to solve the problem, knowing that Gavin Newsom's running for president in 4 years from now. So this is a great platform for him to use. And I'm like, fuck, I voted for Gavin Newsom. You know what I mean? It's like, so, you know, for my sister to start telling me that, you know, if people just wore their mask, everything would be okay. And if your business is failing, I'm really sorry that the US government has failed you. And I'm like, bitch, I'm your brother. You're going to tell me the government has failed me?
Yeah.
Just don't say stupid shit. It's more than a fucking mask problem. But literally, that's where we've gone. And if you gather in a group to protest, it's okay. If you gather in a group to work out, it's not okay. And that just makes no sense to me. It really does. Like, oh, you're going to breathe heavy. You don't think the fucking million people that got together in LA were breathing heavy, cacked in like sardines, marching down the street? Of course they were. Right? You go into my gym, everybody's 8 feet apart. Nobody shares any equipment, right? Everything's disinfected.
Spraying everything.
Sprayed down. We've been open now for 2 months, you know, indoors and outdoors. We've had 0 COVID cases. You know, I mean, and we monitor, you know, we check temperatures, you know, every single day. You know, we talk to people, you know, who do you know that's been in contact with COVID? You know, and we're doing everything that we're supposed to
We do our own contact tracing.
You know, we do our own contact tracing. Absolutely. As a good business should. But at the end of the day, if a gym is not considered essential during a public health crisis, you know, I don't know what's going on.
Maybe, something to look into, public health in and of itself.
Yeah.
100%, and the fact that, my sister who I raised, it has such a counterpoint to just what I feel is just common sense. One, I have to check myself and say, well, I do have a little more dog in this fight than she does, so I might be a little biased, right? But I need the other person on the other end of the phone to do the same. I'm not really impacted by this, so it's easy for me to make these assumptions. As as much as I said, well, I'm really impacted, so I'm probably being sensitive. I'm sorry. You should probably recognize you're not really impacted, so it's easy to say, well, you should just shut down for the good of everybody else.
No, that's too reasonable for 2020. You got to get out of here with that.
Yeah, absolutely.
People just get too far removed from other people's problems. We kind of we live in a bubble, yet we're judgmental on a worldwide level,
Mhm.
via the internet. And when you don't live through through a shutdown of a business where you need to make rent, and you have to pay for this, huge facility where you support 1,500 members. I mean, you can't just pull that out of your ass.
Yeah.
You have to work and earn it, and if
Yeah.
and I'm sure you guys shut down initially. Okay, COVID's scary.
We did.
Yeah, exactly.
March 17th, the order came out. We shut down. March 18th, we were doing virtual training classes.
Mhm.
The very next day, literally, I had Zoom setups for every program, and we were shut down. March, April, May. We were shut down for 3 months. Nothing but virtual training. And then at the end of May, they allowed outdoor training. We've played by the rules. There are lots of gyms that have been open. There are lots of gyms that have been doing classes. There are lots of gyms that aren't doing anything social distancing wise, that aren't doing anything from a cleanliness standpoint. And we have played by the rules. Outdoor classes, we did that. City of Dublin said we can open up for indoor. We did that. City of Dublin saying, hey, you guys might need to go back outdoor. Cool. I got tents coming in. I'm going to do whatever I can to facilitate servicing my members. But being a good guy and doing the right thing, literally 3 months of my business done, right? Oh, well, the government gave no, listen, SBA came in, SBA, it gives X amount of dollars. By the time the money got around to us, all the big ticket items had gone out the window, right? There was a cap, right? The cap from SBA, even if we got it, was $150,000. I've lost more than $150,000 in 3 months, right? PPP, oh, there's PPP. Literally PPP? I mean, what, $20,000, right? My payroll is way more than that. And I've shut down for 3 months, right?
And most people don't want to get off unemployment so you can get your PPP correct.
Right, right. So it's like we want people to work, but there are some people making more money with unemployment now than when they were working. And this is not a narrative that anybody's pushing that isn't true. I'm a business owner trying to have people work. My son works at my front desk. My son doesn't want to come back to work. Right?
Yeah.
My son, because he makes more money on unemployment.
Are you
And
gonna
I get-
spank him?
He's 20 some odd years old.
Are you gonna spank him?
You're gonna spar him.
Probably.
I'll do that.
And
I'll
I
do
listen,
that.
and I love my son, but at the end of the day, he is, 21, 22 years old, and he's part of a different culture. I was working when I was 13 years old. You know what I mean? So my son has had a very good life. He lives with me rent free. He's going to stay on.
You won't hear that from him.
It's not good.
You know what I mean? So, but my own son doesn't want to come back to work because the government's facilitated him making more money staying at home. So that's okay. Cool. There are lots of people that aren't getting enough money on unemployment. There are lots of people who are failing miserably because they need more help. But there are a lot of people that don't need what they're getting and they're taking advantage of it. And who's to say who's who? Right. So it's tough. So then when you have to come down to choice to, paying your gym membership or keeping your lights on, what are you going to do? 56 million Americans unemployed, GDP dropped 32%, biggest drop it's ever had. If we think we've seen the end of the financial ramifications of shutting this country down as long as we have, we're nowhere near it. We're nowhere near it. And then, global scale, you talk about coronavirus, yes, very highly contagious upper respiratory infection. But literally all the other diseases that we have kept at bay that now people are not getting treatment for. One of the biggest killers globally, worldwide, is tuberculosis. Tuberculosis is on the rise again globally. because people are living in filth in other parts of the world. They're not getting out. They're not eating properly. They're not getting the medical treatment they were getting.
They're not getting the charity money.
They're not getting the money they were getting. So at the end of the day, globally, if you think that a coronavirus outbreak is bad, wait until tuberculosis decides to kick back in, right? So through preparing for one disorder, we're now fueling the other disorders as well.
The next is the vaccine.
So
the race.
So for us as a gym, no matter what it is, whether it's tuberculosis or coronavirus, it's heart disease, it's diabetes, the gym is where you fight it, right? You fight it in the kitchen and you fight it in the gym, right? Diet and exercise go hand in hand in combating these things. Stronger human beings are far more helpful and a lot harder to kill. And I don't care who you are, that is always going to be the truth, right? The weakest people, there's a reason the vultures circle the water hole, because the weakest need the most water, right? And at the end of the day, the strongest people, the healthiest people, right, are the ones that are going to have the best immune system and are the ones that are going to survive this the easiest. And our protected populations that have secondary health conditions should absolutely be taken care of, should absolutely be concerned about this thing. But for gyms not to be part of the solution is just mind-blowing to me.
Diet and exercise is the ultimate prescription for so many ailments, like there's so many things. Instead of a bottle of pills, that you could just write diet and exercise on that little piece of paper. And honestly, there's no side effects for those drugs.
No, absolutely not. Whether it's medical, whether it's psychological, whether it's emotional, just the antidepressant of the lift of endorphins when you work out, saves lives, man. I mean, I don't know, but I like punching people in the face. So that's good.
Now,
Speaking of endorphins,
how'd you get into fighting?
I was bullied pretty mercilessly as a child. And my mom, took me to a taekwondo school when I was 12. Because I was getting bullied. So I started doing taekwondo, and then, she had me start boxing, and kind of started the journey there.
Yeah.
And because I was bullied, I wanted to fight. So, I started fighting, and on the East Coast, I was a teenager. I started boxing. And then we moved to the West Coast when I was 15. And then I found a karate gym and a kickboxing gym, and I started training, and then started kickboxing. And there was no Muay Thai in the United States then. There was kickboxing. I used to do a very non PC term. It was called Oriental kickboxing, right? And you could kick the legs and you could knee the body. You couldn't clinch, you couldn't elbow, but it was more than above the waist, sure, right? With the pants and the booties, right? So, we thought we were super cool. So that's where I did the majority of my fighting. I did some boxing. I also did some Kushu and some Sanshu, which is what Kung Lee used to do. It was, striking with throws, and you fight on a lei tai, and, the fingered gloves like, Bruce Lee. And I thought that was cool. And so you did that. So, when I stopped fighting, MMA kind of became popular. I think I had my last fight in 95. I started fighting in like 88, so fought for 5 or 6 years.
So was there a competitive market for all of these martial arts? I know Taekwondo and karate have it's a sport competition, but
there was.
It sounded like you did similar to K1, right?
Yeah, kind of. I would say K1. Oriental rules kickboxing became K1.
Yeah.
There really wasn't a whole lot of money back then. When I was fighting, Maurice Smith was the best kickboxer on the planet. Kathy Long was the best female kickboxer on the planet. And there was
Taibo.
Oh, yeah.
You mean Billy Blanks? Billy Blanks. Billy Blanks was a point karate guy.
Oh, okay.
He was never a kickboxer. But yes, Billy Blanks was very good at what he did.
My mom did those. So.
Yeah.
We'll do some of that on Saturday. Maybe some of those on Saturday.
I don't think you're better weightlifter, guaranteed.
So yeah, there was no money in it. I think the most money I ever made fighting was like $500. There was no money in it. My wife got pregnant, and I needed to get a real job. So I stopped teaching, I stopped fighting, got into dignitary protection and executive security, investigations, consulting, kind of worked my way into that industry and got to a very high level doing that for 15 years, and then retired from that and went back to the gym.
The passion.
Yeah, when I went to MJ. But yeah, I spent a lot of time in a lot of weird places all over the world doing dignitary protection and training and consulting and things like that. Because I had to get a real job to support my family. Because fighting wasn't paying the bills, and fighting doesn't pay the bills for most people. To this day, a lot of my MMA athletes are struggling to survive for the dream. It's a very small percentage of people that are going to make what a Conor McGregor makes.
Right.
You know what I mean?
It was an easy choice to be my partner. I mean, since you guys are talking about the partnerships and how he made it and stuff like that, we were literally, he's my best friend, best partner in the world. To this day, we don't have a partnership agreement.
No, we don't have a partnership agreement. Okay. And I don't have a gym ATM card. That's how much I trust him. That's because I trust him. Right. So no, we don't have a partnership agreement on paper. I don't have an ATM card for the business. And there's a level of trust there that comes with friendship. He as well, I feel, is the best partner in the world. I would not be able to do what I do if it weren't for MJ. I'm a very pragmatic, from all the years doing protection and consulting and behavioral analysis and all that. So I'm a very triage person. If there's a problem, I solve it. If there's a risk, I assess it. And I'm always going to err on the side of caution. Right. MJ is more of an idea guy. MJ is more of a dreamer. He's more of a let's make it happen. Yeah, let's make it happen. I'll come up with an idea and then he'll figure out a way for it to happen. He'll come up with an idea and I'll find out a way to shoot it down. 100%, right? Because that's just my mindset of let's be conservative, let's be pragmatic, let's be safe. Whereas his mindset is sky's the limit. Right. Yeah. And at the end of the day, people like me need people like him to lift us up to be able to do great things, right? Because if left to my own devices, I'm literally going to be maybe the smartest guy in the room with nobody in the room.
And I'll be honest with you,
what I mean?
I invested in him. I didn't invest in anything else but him.
Yeah.
When he came to me and says, "Hey, you know what? MJ, I don't have the money. I'm trying. I'm here." Like he said, he's making $1,500 a month there. And, he's running. He's like, I can't leave my job to do this. And I said, "Don't worry. I'll handle it. We'll handle everything that we need to handle." You just do what you have to do to get everything set up. I'm going to invest in you.
That's so cool.
In his knowledge and his expertise and then I've picked up everything from him.
Yeah. As a result of being together, he's become a tremendous coach. Yeah. Tremendous motivator. There are people that come to the gym just to work with him. They don't even know who I am. Cal strength guys, they don't even know who I am. They don't know who I am. They don't know anything about me because, MJ is the face of the gym to them. Yeah. MJ is the guy that gives them the knowledge. MJ is the guy that's helping them. Like I said, through the years being together, I mean, he's become, a phenomenal coach, phenomenal pad holder, phenomenal trainer. He's already a trainer, he's running 24-hour fitnesses, but with regards to what we do, he's become, very subject matter, strong in subject matter expertise. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, that seems like a very warm, fuzzy, good note to wrap on.
Sir.
You guys have anything else before you close it?
Thank you guys. Thanks for having us.
Thanks for coming, man.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
They got to get back to the gym and keep that thing rolling.
I got tents going up in the park. Hopefully they're putting them in the right place and we can get the gym back open and we can get you back teaching some classes. Absolutely. And, listen, eventually, for everybody out there, this is going to end. Something else will happen. Yeah. We'll all get it eventually and then we can worry about something else. Yeah. But I will put this out there. Okay. And this is what I want to close on. At no other time in modern history could the Pentagon literally come out and say there are aliens and us not care. Right. Literally. I mean, imagine this. And Fox, I want royalties. X-Files, one of my favorite shows ever, right? What's the motto? The truth is out there. Year after year after year, the government is shutting Mulder and Scully down, just one step away from proving the existence of extraterrestrial life. They've come back. They've done movies, right? The show's done. They do movies. They did 2 different movies. So popular, Fox comes back and they've done 2 different series after the fact. Literally, we just need 1 episode. Mulder and Scully come back. They're investigating aliens, this and this and this, and they're in the middle of a government conspiracy. Then all of a sudden, Mulder looks up and he sees CNN. Pentagon admits that there are vehicles not of this earth and there are aliens. And then he just goes, oh, fuck it.
All right, guys. Thanks.
Fox, you're welcome.